Okay, welcome to Google Hangouts, everybody. Welcome to the call. Today we have a very special guest on the call, Dame DC Cordova. DC is the CEO of Accelerated Business Schools and the Money and Program. So Robert Kiyosaki's business partner for 8 or 9 years. Many of you will know Robert from his books such as Rich Dad Poor Dad and quite a few others. I met Robert and DC in the early 1990s, nearly 25 years ago now. And did Money and You in 1992 in Wellington, New Zealand, and it was life-changing for me. It also inspired me to do many other courses over the years, but for me, Money and You was the first one I did, and the one that started it all off for me, so where I got most learnings from, I think. So we'll talk about Money and You more this morning, and also a lot about real estate investing. So first of all, I'd like to welcome DC to the call. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. I am so glad to be talking to you all around the world, and I'm here in San Diego. I am, again, as Graeme say, I'm CEO of Excellerated Business Schools, the Money and You program, and we're also going to have with us Donna Gamagami. And Donna is one of our partners that is bringing back the program after quite a few years to Australia and New Zealand. And today we're going to be talking about Money and You distinctions for real estate investors. And Donna happens to be a great investor. So of course, she's a Money and You graduate and also is a very successful businesswoman, but also has many properties and has quite a few distinctions. So we thought that we would have a conversation. So Donna, anything you'd like to say to everyone?
Yes, welcome everybody. Looking forward to this chat. I'm a little bit closer to Graeme. I'm based in Auckland, and yeah, I'm going to share some great information with you today.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit of history. This particular Google Hangout is going to be specifically for real estate investors, but I think that it also applies to just about any type of investing. And the reason we have earned the right to talk about this subject, even though I am not a professional investor myself, I am not in that quadrant. I don't know if you remember that book called The Cash Flow Quadrant, but on this side you have employees, then down here you have self-employed, over here you have business owners, and below you have investors. So this particular side is the side that really doesn't have a lot of leverage, and this side where business owners and investing has tremendous leverage. So one of the reasons I have earned the right to talk about this is, well, number one, I have made a lot of money in real estate investing, but this was when I was in partnership with Robert Kiyosaki, and we had a deal. His wife and I ran the business, and he was really involved in real estate, and but he got to give me some of his best deals. I had the best deals of all, which is to have somebody that was working on it full-time that would say, okay, this is great, send the money, and I would. And then later, they turned out to be great investments, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But also, the Money and You program comes from a company called Hawthorne Stone. And the mentors, the partners in that company, there were, I believe, 4 or 5 partners at one point. And Marshall Thurber was an amazing genius. He's still a genius. And one day he was driving in the 70s, in the I think earlier 70s, before 1975. He was driving in San Francisco, and he saw this huge Victorian mansion being carried in a truck. And he then remembered the hippies in San Francisco. They used to paint these beautiful Victorians, pink and blue and yellow. And then he had this epiphany that if he were to start buying some of those Victorian homes that were being destroyed, they were being torn up. They didn't think that they were modern enough anymore. And he realized that he could have a niche. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. And so he and his team started buying these houses, and it was thanks to this group that San Francisco looks the way that it does today. Because even though, of course, they've always had a heritage association, people that were saving the Victorians. They had not really made it into the business that this particular company did. And so they went into this full transformation of the city, and they even converted the whole side of an area called Pacific Heights. Behind it was literally a ghetto. And what they did is that they began to do deals with people that owned these houses in this area, and they began to create what is now called Baja Pacific Heights, which is a very expensive area with beautiful homes, and they were the ones who started that whole movement. The thing about this real estate company, though, at the same time, it was the beginning of what is called the personal development, a financial literacy, the transformational entrepreneurial business education. They had not moved into business. They were only doing personal development. And Marshall and Bobby DePorter, another one of the partners, and many other people were students of a thing called the S training that some of you may have heard about long, long ago. They made a lot of history at the time with working with human beings to be more conscious, more aware, more socially responsible. And so what they did is they began to apply many of the principles that they were learning in those trainings to the business arena. And the magic, the synergy that was created, and I will talk about the business success model that was created out of that a little bit later. But what happened was that they began to make so much money, and they were in newspapers and radio shows, and everyone wanted to go work there because a lot of people in that company were making a lot of money. So, like people like the receptionist at the time. This is about, I believe, 1975, 76, around that time. She was making $14,000 a year in base salary. That's how much. That was really good pay. But at that time, through the profit sharing and all the different things that they were doing, she was then making about $44,000 a year, which at that time, professional executives were making that kind of money. So there were hundreds and hundreds of people that wanted to go and work there and learn these principles, learn how to be in real estate and to invest. So they took a $25,000 investment and in 3 years converted that into a 60 million company. So you can imagine how many people wanted to work there. And through a series of circumstances, Marshall and Bobby DePorter of Supercamp, you can look her up, and of course you can always also look at Marshall. One of the things that occurred was that they decided to create the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind. And at the time, that was 6 weeks long. And I had the opportunity to be a student in that school. And I learned so much. This school was literally what you could call an incubator. It was like a showcase. It was like testing all these sound business principles, but also, consciousness, now transformational tools. And so there were 67 of us, and we were literally called guinea pigs on the first school. And I will tell you about my background in a little bit, but I really went through such an amazing learning. And I learned so much. I moved from my beloved Hawaii to San Francisco so that I could be closer with them, and I began as a volunteer. And then I was given the job of promoting this program called Money and You, which I'll explain here in a minute. And then I ended up learning the tools so well. I first was a 50-50 partner, and in 1985, I inherited all the rights to this work, which I consider that I won the lottery. So Money and You was created as the leftover exercises and games from the business school. In 1978, from June through August, 6 weeks, the business school was like the darling. Everybody wanted to then attend. They heard about the school, but people could not take 6 weeks off. Who can take 6 weeks off, even if it is to go to a business school for entrepreneurs? So they were having a conversation with Marshall and Bobby and all these people, and they said, if you do a program that is much shorter than 6 weeks, he says, yeah, I guess we could do a 5-day program. And I'll take some of the games that we didn't play at the first business school, and we'll go ahead and do a shorter program. And somebody said to them, I believe they were all having dinner in Vermont. I was not there. I was surprised later with this program because I kept bugging them for them to do something shorter that I could then have a job with them. And they, somebody says, well, what are you going to call this 5-day program? And Marcia goes, well, let me see, it's going to be about money and it's going to be about you because our work is always about you. So we'll call it Money and You. That's how fast that awesome name was created. And then, of course, is what we call the rest is history, because then I had the opportunity to begin to, I attended the program myself. The second one, the first one was quite an experiment. The second one didn't have the logistical systems that I created that, you know, Marcia would say, let's do this game and I need this, 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 and that. And my background was in law. It was in the legal industry field. So I had learned quite a bit about systems. So I just began to systematize and to put it in manuals, and then ended up building the organization. So I was the organizational animal, which is really important for you to understand. I'm not just talking story here, but I'm actually telling you some distinctions, because in real estate, and as in any other business, you really need to have systems in place in order for you to monetize whatever it is that you're learning. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over a little bit now to Graeme, because I know as a student of our Business School for Entrepreneurs and our Money and You, he has had tremendous success. But many people in real estate investing have attended the program, but have not created the success that Graeme has. So I want to turn over kind of like the focus to Graeme a little bit, and just ask you, Graeme, what were some of the distinctions that you learned, that you applied to your real estate investing profession in some of the systems? Because again, there's going to be people around the world that haven't met you and that want to learn from you.
Thanks, DC. When I started, I was actually a mechanic, and I knew by being a mechanic I wasn't going to get where I wanted to financially. So I ended up reading a book before I did Money and You on real estate, and thought I knew everything about it to get started, and went out with no knowledge and bought a property. I think it was about a couple of years before I did Money and You, and ended up losing about $40,000 just on that first property. So what cost me more than the money was the time. It cost 7 years of my time. So
Can you just speak a little bit louder?
A little bit louder? Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, so Money and You, what I learned from that was a lot about leverage. So if you don't understand leverage, you work too hard. So I learned a lot about leverage and other people's time and money and that sort of thing. But that first property that I bought, by losing a lot of money, I learned a lot from it as well. So later on, I was able to buy a whole lot more houses and set up some systems and safe strategies that got me to where I am today. So today I've got 60 long-term rentals and my own home where I live in, a commercial property, and other properties that are bought to trade, so renovate and sell on again. But I've got a steady lot of 60 houses which are good solid rentals which are getting paid off. I also wrote a book 2003 which has been a bestseller book in New Zealand, which got updated, which is this one here. You can see it. New Zealand Real Estate Investor Secrets. That was done in 2003, updated in 2008, and it's been a bestseller in New Zealand, selling 15,000 copies now. So what I promote really is safe strategies for investing. A lot of people go out there and just want to have their properties go up in value, so they buy for capital gain, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. But my rules and goals and strategy has to work no matter what happens. So, so from the Money and You principles, I learned, you've got to invest safely. Anybody can go out and, invest crazily and lose a lot of money. They can build up money very quickly and they can lose it just as quickly. So it's all about building up a very, very solid foundation. So what happened to me, I was investing quite successfully for 5 to 10 years, I suppose, from 2000 when I was able to do this full time till 2005. I built up a net worth of over 5 million in that time. And then what happened to me, because I had a good solid foundation, everything was quite secure, but I had an appendix burst in hospital. I was there for nearly 2 weeks and got reinfected, came out and did a whole lot of stupid things. I bought $6 million worth of property in the next 2 months, bought some more cars. I had a whole lot of flash cars. And over the next 12 months, I lost about $1.5 million just because of those silly deals. And I ended up having to sell 20 properties for the crap. So I was losing $70,000 every month. And if I didn't have a solid foundation with the properties that I had, which was over 60 at the time, I would have lost a lot. Like a lot of people might have a lot of property, but they also have a lot of debt. And so it's not really safe if interest rates go up or the prices come down, so they're very highly leveraged. So it took me quite a long time to get through that. And then also the market here was at a high around 2006, and it slowly came down about 25 to 30% over the next 5 or 6 years. So that was another thing. And then my partner and myself of 16 years, we separated, so I pay out more money. So without that solid foundation, I would have lost a lot. So it's taken a long time to get back to where I was 11 years ago. But I still use the principles of Money and You today, and they've been very, very valuable. So, yeah.
Thank you so very much. Now, Donna, you are a real estate investor. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then tell us about maybe some of the things that you have learned and how you are a recent Money and You graduate, and how possibly the program also is going to be able to help you.
Thanks, DC. Yeah, totally different background to Graeme. Definitely wasn't a mechanic. I was, my husband and I, we have our own business in anti-aging. Have had for about 17 years. And what I wanted to do about 5 years ago, our business is doing very, very well. It's a very leveraged passive income business and direct sales. And I wanted our money to make money. And I always had a passion about property. So 5 years ago, with doing property, I thought, right, I'm going to do it right. We've been looking at buying in the past. I'd do a whole research on a property. I'd go to the auction, and at the last minute, I'll just pull back. So, am I doing the right thing? Because I didn't have a mentor. I was just doing it on my basic knowledge, what I read. And so I decided to get a coach. And I invested a lot of money into a coach for a year, and a property coach, and I discovered what my rules are, the ways to purchase, and like what Graeme said, it's really important to make sure that there's no risk, low risk investments. And so 5 years ago I started purchasing property. Now I'm in the Auckland market, so it's slightly different to Graeme, where he's based down in Napier Hastings area. And so in Auckland, it's obviously a little bit higher price range. And so I was investing in an area, and over the last 5 years, I've purchased just over 30 properties. Most of them I do hold. I've got about 16 hold properties, all cash flow positive. So they all look after themselves. And what I've learned over these years, and the first property I brought, it was I worked out that it was going to be a minor renovation price. And when I went in there, when I finally purchased a property and got in there, there was one wall that was red. I thought, that's going to be easy. I can paint that. I don't need a painter in here. It's really easy. So when I started looking around the rest of the house, trying to work out what the colour of the rest of the house was, then I realised there was actually no paint, it was just undercoat. And so I had this whole house that only had undercoat. I had no budget for a painter, and because I just thought I was just going to be painting one wall from red to white. And so I ended up having to paint the whole house myself. I got a guy in to do a few bits and pieces of it. Everyone was laughing at me. I have the utmost respect for all painters now. And when they give me a prize, I'm like, yep, they're worth it. And I was out there painting at night time. I'd locked myself into the house because there's no curtains. People could see in. I was there on my own. And it was a big learning curve for me. And these days now, when I buy a house, I have a guy that goes in, does the whole thing. He has all the trades and he looks after it all. I'm just there at the beginning and at the end to check it. And in fact, a couple of years ago, I purchased a house. I settled it a week before going away for 2 months. And while I was away overseas, the house was renovated and it was sold. And I didn't do anything. And that to me was the highest form of leverage for myself. And obviously I made a really good return on that as well. So looking back from doing Money and You and then looking back on what I've done with my property, I can really see why it's been so successful for me. And that first of all, I got the master in. I got a coach that knew what they were doing and taught me, just like what Graeme does. I worked out my system. I worked out what my niche was, which areas of Auckland I was going to buy in. I mean, there's anywhere where everyone lives, there's property. There's all sorts of property, but you've got to work out what you're looking for. And it's 3-bedroom houses or 4-bedroom. Is it apartments? Is it property with land? Whatever it is. And I just stick to that recipe because that just works for me again and again. And the odd time that I've got sidetracked and thought, oh, this is better, it's always ended up costing me. So I go back to what I know what the winning formula is, and I stick to that. And I think it's really important because as a property investor, you can get sidetracked. You think that the grass is green on the other side. You think that, oh, I'm going to go up to the next level, and you can get caught out. So sometimes what you know and what's winning for you, stick to it. And then definitely having a team together. Like I said, I've got the guy that just goes in now. I pay a little bit more for it, but it frees me up to be looking at more deals or do whatever else I want to be doing, or traveling overseas, which I love, than being stuck in a house for 3 weeks, overseeing the electrician, the plumber, and the painter, and I just get them all to go in and do the whole thing, and I don't have to think about it. And that's just been the freedom in that alone has been awesome. And a few other things, and it all comes together, and it gives me my results, which has just been brilliant. And so I paid a lot for that coach for a year, it's turned into millions for me. So it's awesome.
Wow. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to dissect what you guys just said, because you just described the very core teaching of Money and You. But let me just tell you a couple of stories before I start. As you know, Robert Kiyosaki was my business partner for 9 years. We hung out together for 17 years. He first did the Money and You program in 1980 in Honolulu, along with some wonderful other people. We didn't see him for a little while, probably for about a year. And then he showed up at one of our big events with Mr. Fowler. And once you do the Money and You program, you can attend any other program anytime. But he also attended the Business School for Entrepreneurs, I believe, in 1981. I believe that's the date, or 82, around that time. No, it was 81. And then it was that year that we had a program with one of the greatest mentors. His name is Buckminster Fuller. And Robert had the opportunity to be the cameraman and literally looked through this lens at this amazing human being. But this man is known as the Copernicus. He's gonna people say that he's going to be known as Copernicus and as alongside to Einstein in the future, because he was such a futurist. We haven't caught up with him yet. And Time magazine considered Buckminster Fuller to be one of the top 100 most influential people of the 20th century. And he was known as the Leonardo da Vinci of the 20th century. So and the reason I'm talking about him is because I'm going to bring up some principles a little bit later. But he was so influential that Robert, had the opportunity to see him through that lens for 6 days, and he talks about that sometimes. And so later I was even around when he met his beautiful wife, Kim, who later they got married in 2 days after my birthday in 1986. And so I had the opportunity as he was growing and learning. And, I remember the first time I heard about Bob Allen, who wrote No Money Down. Do you remember that book, you guys? Graham, did you ever read that book?
Yeah, there was nothing down, and then nothing down in the 90s, I think, as well. So the original one was in the 1980s, and then he did another one in the 1990s. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bob actually is a friend. He became a really good friend. And so that was the first time I heard about that. And then also it was Robert that adored Donald Trump. So I remember that book, one of his first books that he wrote, one of his famous books. I had to read it because Robert loved Donald Trump so much. And later, of course, he had the opportunity to write a book with him. And so it was so interesting to be around him and to learn all these distinctions that he was learning. And then, of course, when I inherited all the rights to the work on July 8th, by the way, today is Robert's birthday, April 8th, Buddha's birthday, and it's April 8th where you are, it's April 7th where I am, so happy birthday, Robert. So on July 8th, 1985, I literally inherited the rights and to all this work through a series of wonderful circumstances. Marshall went on to do other work around Edward Deming, who he had been studying and teaching us about it. And then he went on to do consulting, and he is just an amazing thinker. And Bobby DePorter had already moved on to do Supercamp. So I was left on my own, and we had all these people that had been training to lead the program, including Robert. And then I looked around, and he was standing there, literally. He was a Marine and followed directions and loved the work. And he has his own stories of his background on all the different learning experiences that he was going through, so I don't need to really go into it. And he was so on July 13, 1985, we became business partners. And then, of course, he loved real estate, and he kind of put aside his work for a while so that he could go ahead and do the work. So it was really interesting because as he began to attract different teachers into his life, including people, that taught us the cash flow quadrant, which wasn't called that at the time, because later Robert and his next partner, Sharon Lecter, with whom they built the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, were the ones who named the quadrant, the cash flow quadrant. He had the opportunity to be able to learn with what became one of our financial mentors, Keith Cunningham. And Keith was a man that had been on Wall Street, so he taught us a lot about finances. He was one of our financial mentors. And then he had other people that came along. There was a wonderful gentleman, I think, Bill, I'll think of his name in a minute. Chappell. Thank you, Bill Chappell, who's a huge investor here in Southern California. He learned a whole bunch from him. And then, what is the name of the beautiful Dolph DeRusse?
Dolph DeRusse in Phoenix now.
And then, of course, then we have John Burley. And these were guys that really know real estate. I mean, they are animals. They're real estate animals. I mean, they are such amazing guys. They all did Money and You. They all, began to teach Robert. And I had the opportunity to sit through quite a few of their conversations. And also, as we were running business schools, we would give them an opportunity for them to teach and teach us distinctions. And let me tell you some of the key things that I learned. And then later, after Robert and I went different ways in a very loving manner, in 1994. On June 30th, 1994, he went on to take time off so that he could get really clear on what he was going to create next. And I went on and got married and moved to Singapore and continued with this work. And we had the opportunity. He came back in 96, I believe, and he said, let me do a business school for investors. You know, I spent all those years with you, and he did. And he sacrificed quite a bit because he loved real estate more than anything else. But we were doing entrepreneurial programs as he was building his wealth in order to create his foundation, which really supported him. But one of the things that was so interesting, he said, let me do a business school for investors. Give me that gift. And we did. And so in March 1997, right a few months before the big financial crisis that happened in August, started in August of 97, went through 98, and then, of course, you know, you probably guys remember a lot of this down under. And then, oh, and one thing I left out here, we were really big in Australia with Money and You. We had like 14,000 graduates at the end of the 94 period with Robert. And then we had about 2,000 in New Zealand. And one of the things that occurred around 88, 89, there was a huge downturn in real estate in Australia. And we now had the opportunity that Money and You became almost like a haven for people that had had learning experiences. And one real estate investor was sending another and another and another. I mean, we used to have so many of them in the room at certain points where they were coming to heal the mistakes that they have made. And like you were talking about earlier, both of you were talking about the mistakes that you made in real estate. And these boys and girls have made huge mistakes. I lost everything. And I understand. We really need to look them up because they came to do literally healing at Money and You and to learn the business success model, which I will cover in a few minutes. And they had the opportunity to get rehabilitated first emotionally, because when you lose everything, the market changes. The thing that I learned from them, from all the real estate people that I had met through the years, and the books that I read, because I was attempting to understand why my business partner loved this area so much. And then when we did the business school for investors in Langkawi in March of 1997, we had for 8 days some of the world greatest investors were in that room teaching people. And the one thing was to focus on one area. I always remember that because this is probably the biggest mistake that people make in real estate. They get very excited. I mean, and Donna, thank you. You couldn't have said it better because it's like the masters create a formula and they just keep repeating that formula, which of course is one of the key teachings of Money and You. And on Friday night, we play a game that both of them have been very quiet about, and they're being very good, Money and You graduates, because we don't like to talk about this game, which literally teaches you the essence of leverage. And what happened is that once you learn a formula, and once you learn how to do something, the repetition and the learning experiences that you have is what is key. And this is what these key masters of investments were sharing with us. Because in this business school for investors, we not only had the masters of real estate, all the guys that we named earlier, but then we also had Jenny Tay's brother. I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Chan, C-H-A-N. And at one point, he was one of Australia's top traders. He was in the stock market. His last name was Chan. He still may be. I actually haven't asked Jenny recently. But Jenny is one of Singapore's richest women who actually also I learned quite a bit watching her be an investor. She's a huge investor. And so it's a family. So I've been around all of this. So what I have learned in seeing these people are patterns of thinking. And I want you all to remember this. And this is why Money and You is so loved by so many real estate people, because you not only learn patterns of thinking, but you also learn a thing called the business success model. And by the way, I am going to be coming out with a book called the Accelerated Business Success Model, because we need to brand it, because it's part of my Money and You book series. And in there, I go through a lot of details, but I want you to know that I'm going to go through it right now, and I'm going to ask both Donna and Graeme to chip in some of the distinctions that they learned. But I want you to imagine a beautiful pyramid. And what we're going to do, if you go ahead and send us an email, and what would be a good email for them to send to? Donna, what would be a good email for them to send to?
If they want information about Money and You, the email to use would be support@moneyandyou.co.nz. So you've got the website under your name, so it's just support@moneyandyou.co.nz.
Yes. So as you see underneath my name, that's the website, and you put support@moneyandyou.co.nz. And for those of you who are not in Australia and New Zealand, Donna is going to be very graceful, and she's going to go ahead and send me those emails so that I can go ahead and send you a link. We're going to send you a link where we go through a Google Hangout in going through the business success model. Aside from the book that I'm going to be publishing, and it will be very inexpensive, it will be for you guys down under, it will be a Kindle version. In the United States, you can also order it print on demand. It will be out in a couple of weeks' time. So you'll be able to see it everywhere in our website and things. So the business success model, I want you to imagine a pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid, there's a thing called master. You want to learn from masters. And this is exactly what Donna and Graeme have been talking about. And this is what Graeme, I am sure, really learned in Money and You. Am I correct, Graeme?
Yes, indeed. Yep. I went off with no help from anybody, listened to friends, family, bank managers, accountants, and that sort of thing, who had no experience in what I was wanting to do, which is why I lost so much on the first deal. So I didn't have the master to learn from. I didn't even know to even ask the question at the time. So by trying to do everything yourself and make mistakes, it can be very, very costly.
Thank you, thank you. And so now what happens is that masters will teach you their mistakes, and they will teach you a niche. And this is what Donna was speaking about. So Donna, when she was explaining about her learning experiences, and then all the masters will teach you that you must have a niche, and you must, in real estate or any type of investing, not just in real estate, because there are so many ways of investing, even in not only in real estate, but when you move on to minerals, to gold, to in the stock market, you just need in that period of time, and it takes anywhere between 2 to 5 years to get really good at it. So maybe Donna, why don't you share a little bit about some of the things you know about creating a niche? Just a couple of things.
Yeah, sure. So from niche. So for myself with property, I just got really clear what I wanted, what my end goal was. And my end goal was that we want to be holding property for a long, long, long time. Because we always know that over years it doubles, and it doubles again and doubles again. And in fact, in the last 5 years, my properties have already doubled and more. So market in Auckland and in New Zealand's just gone crazy. So, I got in at the right time to buy what I brought. But looking at niche, many times I've been sidetracked. People have come up to me, oh, you're investing. Oh, you should come and look at this. You've got to look at that. And and while I do look, I'm always got an open mind. I always look. But then the odd times I've been sidetracked, it's cost me, and I know I've got to stick with what I know and my formula. We've done the stock market, and one night we lost over $250,000 in one night. And my husband and I said to me, what's the good thing about this? And the good thing was that we could afford to lose it. We didn't lose the roof over our heads. We weren't living on, toast for the week. We were very fortunate because we had built a good, strong, cash flow based business behind us. But we realized property was, for us, worked better. We were in more control of it than the stock market. And so our niche is property and residential property. I could go into commercial, but for me, it doesn't do anything for me. It's all about reading contracts, and to me, it's not a sexy thing. And so I enjoy property because I love transforming something, something looking pretty average to something looking awesome, and that's what I enjoy. So.
Thank you. So she said something really interesting there that I remember the masters were teaching, which is sexy. It was sexy to her. So what is sexy to you? And that's really, really important. And what we mean by that is that you get so excited. You can't wait to get up in the morning and go to work in that particular thing. That's what we mean by sexy in business. It's so exciting. It's like having the most wonderful sweetie. Okay, so you just kind of like are so excited. And that is one of the things I have learned from some of the best. I mean, even when I was talking to Graeme, when we visited, we were doing a program called Money and Me, and Graeme hosted us there in beautiful Napier. And that, it's like I could tell his excitement. He's written a book. He's got a Facebook group with over 600 people that are coming to visit with him and to learn from him. And he's so generous with his time and with his energy, and even having this Google Hangout for his people. And we're doing this for his peeps, and yet many of you around the world are going to get to benefit from this. And for the Money and You graduates, this is a review for you, because this is what you learn experientially for 3.5 days in Money and You. So the next one after...
Sorry, if I just add into that, is that while I find it sexy, you can easily get, because I do the same formula each time now. It's the same kitchen, it's the same paint. You can almost get bored with that formula. So, I can easily get sidetracked and go, I want to now go and buy $1 million properties and transform them, and it'll be fun, and I'll just be, and I can get really creative because I am quite a creative person, and I can get easily sidetracked into that, but there's no money. And then the risk gets bigger. And that's where, in some ways, it's like your ego gets involved in that, whereas I know that it's a surefire thing. I've got a winning formula. Don't change it.
Thank you.
I'll just add to that a little bit as well. Good investing is supposed to be boring. Not so when it becomes boring, you're doing a good job. And it's sort of like a cookie cutter. You just got to do the same thing over and over and over again. And people who want to bring excitement into the investing is when they often go off and do other things like subdivisions or new builds or whatever it is, and because they want more excitement. But good investing, actually, if you're doing it well, is actually boring. So do the excitement somewhere else.
The excitement is hunting down the deals.
Yeah, but once you've got a property that you're keeping long term, a buy and hold, hand it over to a property manager. You probably never see it again.
Yeah.
Finding the deals is always fun, negotiation, that sort of thing. But once you've got a property, that's it. Leave it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Now, if I may say, the sexy part is the money. Yeah, it's so much fun. You can.
My husband always says that he thinks it's wonderful that I go out and buy houses and I'm not spending my money on shoes and handbags. So, for me going shopping.
So that's one way to shop, high-level shopping. So now you have masters that you learn, then you have this niche. You pick something that is attractive to you, and in real estate, there are so many different areas. And I remember, I hope Robert doesn't mind me sharing about this, but I remember one time him being scolded by one of his rich dads that was saying, stay focused, because he would get often, just like Donna was saying, he would get really excited and go and have a learning experience and come back and go, oh God, because he didn't know that much about that area, but he this is part of the process though. So let me tell you, the next part of the business success model is leverage. And this gift that we're going to give you by you sending an email to support@moneyandyou.co.nz, what's going to happen, we're going to send you a link for you to be able to get a Google Hangout on business success model that we go through a lot of detail. But the next thing is leverage. And leverage is one of those words that people use all the time. And I know Money and You graduates, and those of you that did Money and Me, you already heard the story. But if you don't have automatic money coming in right now, if you can't get on any airplane, whether you want to fly economy or first class, and you can go to any hotel anywhere in the world, and you can stay in the best, or you can stay in a little Airbnb, or, which I'm surprised how many of my rich friends use Airbnb. They love them. They go, why stay in a fancy hotel when I can stay in a beautiful home for 1/10 the price? It's amazing. Anyway, no wonder it's worth billions. Talk about real estate. And then you have, if you don't have the ability and you don't have automatic money coming in, like everyone in this Google Hangout, mine is through royalties and licensing. That is my thing. That's my thing that I find so sexy. You talk to me about licensing and royalties, I get all excited. Every musician, every best-selling author, every movie star, that is their thing. Okay, that's what they make their money from. I heard the other day, I can't remember who it is. It was just one song that have sold for something like 40 years, and this person gets a little royalty from it. They did a good deal, because in those days they didn't treat him that well, but they did a good deal. And I can't remember how much money in royalties they have been paid. I'm going to have to go back and get that story. So what we're talking about here is leverage. So if you're not doing that, you're not doing the next steps, okay? Because you might think, oh, I have leverage in this. And you can't really call yourself a professional investor unless you can completely retire from your investments. And that's what Graeme did. He talked about when he was able to quit his regular job, his regular business, and became a full-time investor, okay? But you can call yourself an aspiring investor, an investor in lag, because that is more truthful. Because investor, when you call yourself an investor, it means that you are really living off of those investments. So this is really important, because particularly as you begin to find other masters and you begin to join other groups, and here's the key thing, you need to have a group of people that can support you. And I know Donna, as our wonderful friend Alejandra, who is creating these masterminds so that in Auckland, and they're expanding to other areas in New Zealand and later in Australia, of people that are supporting each other, that have a mastermind and have mentors that they work with. So now, what you're going to do is you're going to leverage, and this is the part that most people miss, which is through systems. So when you heard Donna and Graeme talk, and I'm going to move a little bit faster now because we only have about 10 minutes, what happens is that you now have the systems in place that are literally self-correcting and duplicatable. So that's when Donna says that she can go away for 2 months and have everything in place, and now she is able, without even seeing this property, she was able to sell it. So, Donna, you have good systems in place, right?
Definitely. And it didn't happen at the very beginning, but as you know, some people, you get into the system and you're like, no, they're not the one, get rid of them. You've got to find the right people that you can trust. And yeah, so then, you know, it's taken me 4 years to find the right people to be able to just easy flow.
Which actually goes with the conversation that any business takes 2 to 5 years to really be successful. What about you, Graeme? Anything you'd like to say about systems?
Well, I have systems in place, but I still do the things that I enjoy doing, and am available if I go overseas at any time. So systems are very, very important, but yeah.
Thank you. So now, this is in the Money in You program. We really go through the importance of systems, and we have whole areas of it. You know, this is an entrepreneurial program. This is 44 hours of entrepreneurial education that happens to be experiential in nature and that is also transformational. And what we mean by that, transformation only takes a second. Transformation doesn't happen very slowly. It's like when you start having breakthroughs and insights. And because we play all of these games that literally trick your unconscious and your subconscious, and you finding out what it is, what are some of the blocks, what are the decisions, what is it that have kept you from creating the level of success that you want. So this is really important for you to know that if right now you don't have what you want financially, you need to have a breakthrough experience. You need to rewire your brain to think like a multimillionaire. So everyone in this particular hangout has had that experience. We can talk about this because we had to rewire our brains. And so there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that this is why the Rich Dad Poor Dad first book became such a runaway bestseller around the world, because it was the teachings from our program, from Buckminster Fuller, that taught us that our educational systems around the world are training you to be an employee as opposed to being an entrepreneur, being an investor, and thinking in a different way and having patterns of thinking that are really going to support you in being as wealthy as you may want to be. So now we go to the next few steps of the business success model, which is through systems. You have your niche, you leverage that niche through systems, through an aligned team. And this is where now Donna spoke quite a bit about that she has her team, and it took her quite a few years, and I know that definitely Graeme has his team. And so these people are going to leverage you. You're going to, your genius and what you do sometimes takes many people to duplicate, and you can do it. Not one person is going to do it for you. So leverage through system, through an aligned team. And this is what an aligned team is very clear on. What's the purpose? In our organization, our purpose is to uplift humanity's consciousness through socially responsible businesses. So I want to tell you something, that your real estate practice, your real estate profession, your real estate investing profession can also become a vehicle for adding value and doing good. And here's when I have to get on my soapbox. I have to tell you this. I think that the first individual trillionaire on the planet is going to be a human being that finds a way to create housing for the needy, housing for the homeless, housing for the what we call resource poor. And if you can find that niche, and I have met quite a few extremely successful, not only Money and You graduates, but also other people in real estate that have found amazing niches in that area of providing housing for people that can't really afford it. And so what happens now is that you go into a whole conversation about volume. And I want for Graeme to speak here for a couple of minutes, because I know that you like really secure investments. So can you talk a little bit about this to your people?
Sorry, DC, I just missed that last part. Like what?
Okay, about having secure investments, not being, such a John Wayne about investments, but you really like secure investments.
Yes. Yeah, well, I've got a strategy which has to work whether the market goes up, goes down, or stays the same for many, many years. So it's not reliant on the property market changing at all. And in fact, several properties that I've had, have gone up and down in value over the years, but the strategy has to work in all markets and with fluctuations in the interest rate as well. So it's very, very important for your foundation to have a good, solid strategy, goals, and rules around investing as well. So I have several rules for investing, which if I break those rules, I know I'll lose money. So I've got to stick within those rules for investing.
Thank you. And so that takes us, so you have a purpose on why you do this. Then we have a mission, our mission, one of our missions is the greening of the world. And don't get me started on moving into renewables and using renewables on new housing, new development, developing houses that can be maybe transported from one area to the other. There are so many wonderful niches coming up in renewable energy that is related to real estate investing, that it is absolutely magnificent. So this takes us to the area now of educating yourself, being educated in entrepreneurial education, and something very, both of them have kind of alluded to this, and having very clear rules of the game on how you're going to participate as an investor. What are going to be your personal rules, the rules that you know that work and that you're not going to break, and also rules of the game on how you participate with others. I mean, Money and You would really go through this piece for hours and hours, and we keep demonstrating about rules of the game through different games and the importance of you having clear rules with people, even if they're simple rules. But this is really, really, really crucial. And also knowing the rules of the game of your city, of your state, of your territory, of your whatever it is called in your country, and of your country and of the world. So this is very important. We're very big in the Chinese market, and once you attend the Money in You program, you have a lifetime guarantee to attend membership, to attend any program anywhere in the world in any language. So you can look up, I was just talking to Graeme earlier when we were getting prepared for this, and I was telling him that I want to introduce him to a gentleman by the name of Dennis Wee, who is one of the big real estate people in Singapore, and connect them, because they could participate together in some way, or if not, give each other tips. We have the most extraordinary network. We have over 100,000 people since 1979 have attended Money and You from over 65 countries. And we're very big in the Asia Pacific region, and particularly, and now we're coming back, to New Zealand. And thank you, Graeme, for your support, because part of our ideal is to create communities of people that are going to support each other in these particular tools and patterns of thinking. So these Money and You distinctions, if you apply them to your real estate investing area, your field, your profession, you're going to find that they're going to minimize the number of mistakes that you make, which in Money and You we really talk about that part of being very successful is your ability to be able to make mistakes. So now we go into the next couple, the last two steps of the business success model, which is synergy. And this, if you apply all these principles that we're sharing, you're going to have a synergistic effect. And then the last thing is creating results. And one of the things we learned from a master teacher, a mentor, a master, Marsha Martin, who taught me in my 20s that in life you either have reasons why you didn't create, don't have the portfolio that you want, or you have the results. So, clearly you have people here in this part of the world, in your part of the world, especially right now in Auckland and Napier, and then of course Wellington and in other areas that of New Zealand, they have wonderful Money and You graduates. And we want you to connect with all of us, because our tribe, our community, our network, once you begin to hang out together, and Graeme has a whole network of people, of investors, real estate investors that are learning from each other. I was looking through the site, and they're giving each other tips and they're supporting each other. And this will give you an opportunity for you to guarantee your success much greater. So before we let Graeme say goodbye to all of us, I wanted for Donna. Donna, I know that you have an offer for us. Can you let us know what that is?
Yeah, for sure. For everyone that's listening at this Google Hangout, if they want to email me and are interested in attending the next Money and You program, obviously we have them around the world, in America, China, Asia. Our next one is in Auckland on the 28th April through the 1st of May. So it starts on a Thursday night. So for those out of town, you can travel on Thursday, get up here in time for Thursday evening, and then it's all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's a 3.5-day program. And so if you just want to email me, if you're interested, you want to find out some more information, and we can give you a very, very special prize. Subject to availability, because, you know, we're getting people registering at the moment. So, yeah, so just give me an email and we can sort something out for you.
So before I turn it over to Graeme to say goodbye for us, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to also let you know that, you know, once you go to the site and you begin to see us, and definitely find me in Facebook. I love likes. I have Dame DC Cordova. That's my fan page. But my regular page, which I can't take any more friends because, you know, Facebook has a limit, make sure I have it open so that people can make comments on my regular page and say hello. No spam, but just connect with us, connect with all the wonderful people in us. We have a Facebook page, or you look it up, Money and You, Facebook, Money and You, Australia and New Zealand, and you will find that page. Make sure you connect with people there. And then, of course, with Graeme, he has a closed Facebook page, but if you let them know that you are a real estate investor, then he maybe allow you in there, because he does some beautiful teachings. And thank you for that, Graeme, because I feel like you took one of the key things, which is to provide free information and free tips and education to people. And the reason we're doing this Google Hangout is not only to let you know we'd love to have you in the Money and You program and have the breakthroughs that so many real estate investors have had in our program, Money and You, but also to provide for you some of the tips and information that can make a difference for you right now. So we have a global network that's available to you. So thank you so much for having, listened to this. So Graeme, how would you like to finish up?
Okay, I just want to say thank you very much to DC for your time today and for your teachings, and also to Donna. It's been a real pleasure, and wish you all a good day. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Aloha. Bye-bye.